I do have a little bit something to add, and this is the actual practical thought patterns and how I dealt with my stay at the hospital for the entire day yesterday. I do want to explain myself a little bit before I open up about this stuff. See, a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I had a really, really, really terrible feeling that something horrible was about to happen. You know that feeling where it's kind of like impending doom, for example. Well, I had that, and a lot of that, in the middle of the day, so I decided to create a series of protocols uh, for the sake of psychological recovery. Uh, it was a series of 10 protocols, 1 through 10, with each describing a specific situation, with each being a system, one system that's based off the Stoic philosophy, that's meant to help me deal with every single one of these possible situations when they happen, sort of like contingency plans. You had Protocol 1, which I think was heartbreak, Protocol 2, which is the one that I used, which is death of a loved one, Protocol 3, which is also one that I used, being cognito hazard recognition, because when you're at the hospital, you're gonna see stuff that's probably gonna give you PTSD. And now, my experience with that stuff is that you could predict it and prepare your mind for it, and that's what Protocol 3 is. I used another protocol a little bit, which was to counter me being absolutely broke with no dollar or a shekel to my name. Which now the situation is much better, much better. I was at the hospital. I was sitting in the corner, and I was freaking out because I was taking care of my mom, cleaning up her spit and all that stuff, seeing all these insane things, and I had like the equivalent of $8 to my name. I couldn't even buy a damn energy drink without it being like an unreasonable expense. Times were hard. I was never broke because I always had a roof under my head. I lived with my parents. I'm 19. As you're watching this video. So I was never broke. Yeah, let me just make that clear. I have a roof over my head. I have food. Everything's good. I'm okay. But I didn't have any money of my own. I couldn't head out anywhere. And I was only taking care of my mom every single day. And at that point, throughout my childhood, I was always at the doctor's office, taking blood works, and I was there because I was a very unhealthy kid. I was morbidly obese, really fat. Basically, I had like a really unhealthy childhood, and I did a lot of things, as you can see, to get away from these hospitals, and finally get out of there. And me being back there every single day, you'd think it would be bad. But I refuse to look at it that way, because it gave me a new perspective. It made me into a stronger, kinder person. Like right now, something that I notice about myself is that my ability to turn morbid things to absolutely beautiful has increased. My ability to derive logical conclusions has increased. My stoicism has increased. My kindness and compassion have increased. I've noticed that I let a lot of people pass before me. And it would, like, all this amazing stuff would never have been able to happen without everything happening to me and my mom and my family. Me and my family were there for each other more than we ever were, which is amazing to me. I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful for the opportunity and the person who I became. Now, even back when I was broke and I was all under all that mental stress, because I had a lot of stuff going on in my life that you guys don't even know of yet. But even back then, I still knew that I would grow through this, because again, this isn't my first rodeo. I know exactly how these things are gonna go. Something really bad happens to me, and then I find a way to turn into a really good thing and a positive thing. No one but me gets to decide whether the thing is positive or negative. It only ends when I say that it ends. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend as if these morbid things did make me into the man I am today and are gonna continue to help me evolve through it. Remember, what would Hercules be without the lion he fought? You'd just be another person you never heard of. You wouldn't know who he is. So Even though it's only been 5 hours since her death, I'm very grateful for the type of person that she helped me become, that she made of me. And I'm happy that I'm able to give you guys a story and all this stuff, because this would mean that maybe you guys will have the philosophical tools that I had to grind in order to achieve. And if something like that ever happens to you, then that's a good thing. But let's get back to the protocols for a second. So the main protocols that I use protocol 2 and 3, which are death of a loved one, which I just journaled everything. Like when it first happened, we were in the car on the way to the hospital. To the hospital stay itself, I recorded thought patterns and all sorts of really, really specific things. And protocol 3 was cognitohazard, which means awareness, amplification, and embracing. Awareness means being aware. Hey, like think to yourself, literally think to yourself, like cognitohazard detected. Level whatever you want, detected. Now amplify it to prepare for it in your mind. So whatever cognitohazard you're seeing it, imagine it like 1,000 times worse and more harmful. I'm not gonna go into details because again I want to keep this family friendly, but you get the point. Now the last step is to embrace it. Breathe through it. You can't control it, so therefore it's none of your worries. Let go. It's okay. You can't control it. And if you can't control it, then worrying about it makes you silly. Like a failed test of intelligence and love. Which is okay. I felt plenty of times, but it is what it is. And that was protocol 3. And another protocol that I used, which wasn't even in this specific series of protocols, by the way, they're called the slingshot protocols. That was Project Slingshot. You know, you face like an adversity, it pulls you back, and then it releases you, and you fucking propel forward. So these were the slingshot protocols in case something really bad happens. These were the contingency plans. Another protocol that I used is the Black Lotus protocol. Now the Black Lotus protocol is a protocol I made a long time ago, just as much as any other protocol. And it basically means the prediction of things that can get in your way. It's based on the sentence, what stands in the way becomes the way, and it also uses like a diplomatic technique. You know, diplomats have a technique where they sort of try to predict their opponent's argument. So I try to predict circumstances. So possible negative coping mechanism like emotional eating or facing these silly black mirrors, stuff like that. And I'm going to predict these things so I can understand, hey, this is what usually happens when this sort of circumstance arises. But it doesn't have to be this way. I get to be in control. And that's what the Black Lotus protocol is. It basically means, hey, this might happen, but it doesn't have to, because now you know that's going to happen. So you can counter that. And this was the things that I have used. So it was Protocol 2, which was to just journal everything, and I journaled everything. The effectiveness of breathing versus push-ups, the effectiveness of breathing and talking to myself, the effects of basically everything that I felt and I've observed, I've written there. Protocol 3 was just to embrace any and be aware of any cognitohazard. Prepare yourself for cognitohazards. You know, things that you see and sense through one of your or some of your senses that may have an impact on you, reminiscent of PTSD. And the Black Lotus protocol, that's meant to predict things that may get in your way so that you can counter them. You can be aware of it and you can go like, hey, this doesn't happen to be this way this time. Why? Because I'm better. I'm stronger now. And that's really it. And this was the extension of that video. And I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. I'm going to go hit legs, by the way. This is going to be fun.